My golden child sister demanded I give her my life savings. When I refused, she spiraled out of control and now I'm raising her children. I, 28F, have an older sister, Sharon, 32F, who I've always had a complicated relationship with. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, Sharon was the golden child in our family. She was outgoing, popular, and seemed to excel at everything without much effort. I was more introverted and struggled with social anxiety, so I often felt like I was living in her shadow. Our childhood wasn't easy. Our father worked long hours as a truck driver, often away for weeks at a time. Our mother juggled multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. Despite the financial strain, they always made sure we had what we needed. Sharon and I shared a tiny bedroom in our modest ranch house, our twin beds separated by a threadbare curtain for privacy. Despite our differences, Sharon and I were close as kids. We'd spend hours playing make-believe in the backyard, turning cardboard boxes into castles and pretending to be princesses. Sharon always took the lead, casting herself as the beautiful heroine while I played her loyal sidekick. Even then, I longed to be the star of my own story. But things started to change when we hit our teenage years. Sharon began hanging out with the cool kids at school, while I found solace in books and my small group of equally nerdy friends. The divide between us grew wider with each passing year. Sharon's rebellion started small, sneaking out to parties, coming home smelling of cigarettes. Our parents, exhausted from work and wanting to avoid conflict, often turned a blind eye. By the time Sharon was 16, she was regularly drinking and experimenting with drugs. I'd lie awake at night, listening to her stumble in at 3 a.m., terrified she'd get hurt, but too afraid to tell our parents. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my studies, determined to build a different kind of life for myself. I got a part-time job at the local library, squirreling away every penny I earned. My dream was to move to the city, go to college, and never look back. The summer before my senior year of high school was a turning point. Sharon, then 20, got arrested for drunk driving. She totaled her car and narrowly avoided hitting a pedestrian. Our parents were devastated. They emptied their meager savings to pay for a lawyer, desperate to keep Sharon out of jail. I remember the night of Sharon's court hearing vividly. Our parents came home looking defeated. Sharon had avoided jail time but lost her license and was sentenced to community service. Instead of showing remorse, she lashed out, screaming that it was all their fault for not understanding her. I watched from the shadows as our mother broke down in tears. That night, I made a vow to myself. I would never put my parents through that kind of pain. I would be responsible, make smart choices, and build a life they could be proud of. True to my word, I focused on my studies and stayed out of trouble. I graduated high school with honors and earned a partial scholarship to a state university. It wasn't enough to cover everything, so I worked 2 jobs over the summer to save up. Sharon mocked my dedication, calling me a boring goody two-shoes, and predicting I'd never have any fun. College was a revelation. For the first time, I felt like I could be myself without living in Sharon's shadow. I made genuine friends who appreciated my quirks. I discovered a passion for finance and threw myself into my classes. Meanwhile, Sharon's life continued to spiral. She dropped out of community college after 1 semester and bounced between dead-end jobs. She got fired from the local diner for stealing from the till, then from a retail job for consistently showing up late. Our parents were at their wits' end. By the time we reached our mid-20s, the contrast between our lives was stark. I had graduated and started building a promising career in finance. I lived in a small but tidy apartment in the city and was slowly building up my savings. I worked hard but also made time for hobbies and friends. For the first time in my life, I felt truly happy and fulfilled. Sharon, on the other hand, continued to struggle. She got married young to her high school boyfriend Jake, 33M, a guy with a chip on his shoulder and a history of petty crime. They had 2 kids in quick succession, Lily, 5F, and Max, 3M. Neither of them had steady employment or savings. They lived paycheck to paycheck in a rundown apartment on the outskirts of our hometown. I tried to maintain a cordial relationship with Sharon, but it was difficult. Every interaction seemed to revolve around her financial problems or complaints about how unfair her life was. She would make snide comments about how lucky I was, completely dismissing all the hard work I had put in. It was exhausting, and I found myself pulling away more and more. Our parents, nearing retirement age, were constantly stressed about Sharon's situation. They'd give her money for rent or groceries, only to find out she'd spent it on cigarettes or scratch-off lottery tickets. I urged them to set boundaries, but they couldn't bear to see their grandchildren go without. About a year ago, Sharon called me in tears, saying they were about to be evicted from their apartment. She begged me to loan them $5,000 to cover back rent and avoid homelessness. She swore things would be different this time, that she and Jake were both looking for jobs and committed to turning their lives around. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I dipped into my carefully cultivated savings and transferred her the money. I made Sharon sign a contract promising to pay me back within 6 months. Part of me expected to never see that money again, but I couldn't bear the thought of my niece and nephew on the street. To my shock, Sharon actually followed through and repaid the loan on time. She got a job as a receptionist, and Jake was doing construction work. They seemed to be getting their act together. I was cautiously optimistic that maybe this was the turning point we'd all been hoping for. Our relationship improved over the next few months. We started talking more frequently, and I enjoyed hearing stories about the kids. I even visited a few times and was pleased to see their apartment looking cleaner and more organized. Last week, Sharon invited me over for dinner. I was looking forward to spending time with her and the kids, but as soon as I arrived, I realized she had an ulterior motive. Sharon and Jake sat me down at their wobbly kitchen table and launched into a clearly rehearsed speech. They had found their dream home, a charming 3-bedroom house with a big backyard for the kids. It was a short sale and an amazing deal, but they needed help with the down payment. Would I be willing to loan them $50,000? They promised to pay me back as soon as possible. I was completely blindsided. $50,000 is a huge amount of money, far more than I would ever feel comfortable loaning to anyone, let alone my financially unstable sister. I told them I'd need time to think about it. Sharon immediately got upset. Her friendly demeanor vanished, replaced by the manipulative tactics I remembered from our childhood. She started guilt-tripping me, saying I was selfish for not wanting to help family. She brought up the previous loan, implying that since I had helped them once, I was obligated to do it again. Jake chimed in, telling me I owed it to them since I was so much more financially stable. He made snide comments about how I was hoarding my money while their children suffered in a cramped apartment. It was clear they had planned this ambush carefully. I tried to explain that $5,000 and $50,000 were very different amounts, and that I wasn't comfortable putting that much money on the line. I pointed out that they had no way to guarantee repayment, and that it could jeopardize my own financial security. Sharon accused me of thinking I was better than them. She said if I really cared about Lily and Max, I would want them to have a nice house to grow up in. She brought up painful childhood memories, twisting them to paint herself as the victim and me as the selfish sister who always got everything she wanted. At that point, I'd had enough. I told Sharon and Jake that their behavior was manipulative and inappropriate. I said I wouldn't be loaning them any money and that they needed to take responsibility for their own finances. Then I left, ignoring Sharon's tearful pleas and Jake's angry muttering. Since then, Sharon has been bad-mouthing me to our entire family. She's telling everyone that I'm a selfish person who doesn't care about family. She's posted vague, dramatic statements on social media about how money changes people, and you find out who really loves you when you're in need. My parents are caught in the middle. They understand my position, but are also heartbroken at the thought of their grandchildren missing out on a better life. They're pressuring me to be the bigger person and just give Sharon the money to keep the peace. I'm hurt and angry that Sharon would try to manipulate me like this. I feel like she was only rebuilding our relationship to set me up to ask for money. At the same time, I do feel guilty about not helping my niece and nephew. But I worked hard for my savings, and I don't think it's fair for Sharon to feel entitled to it. Aitia for refusing to loan my sister money and potentially cutting her out of my life? I'm tired of being treated like an ATM instead of a person, but I can't help wondering if I'm making the right choice. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Reading your comments helped me feel more confident in my decision to stand firm against Sharon's manipulation. I decided to have an honest conversation with our parents about the situation. I invited them over to my apartment for dinner, wanting neutral ground away from Sharon's influence. As I cooked my dad's favorite lasagna recipe, I rehearsed what I wanted to say in my head. Over dinner, I explained exactly what happened at Sharon's house and how she and Jake had tried to pressure me. I shared my frustrations about feeling used and my fears that giving in would only enable more irresponsible behavior. To my surprise, my parents were much more understanding than I expected. They admitted that they've enabled Sharon's behavior for years and that it needs to stop. My mom broke down in tears, confessing that she lies awake at night worrying about Sharon and the kids. As we talked late into the night, my parents revealed the true extent of Sharon's financial drain on them. Apparently, they've loaned her over $100,000 over the past few years, none of which has been repaid. They've been dipping into their retirement savings and putting off necessary home repairs to keep Sharon afloat. I was shocked. I knew they helped her out occasionally, but I had no idea it was to this extent. My parents are in their early 60s and should be focusing on their golden years, not supporting my 32-year-old sister and her family. We spent hours discussing how to move forward. It was painful, but we all agreed that the cycle of enabling needed to end. My parents were terrified of losing their relationship with their grandchildren, but I reminded them that they deserved peace and security in their retirement. After much discussion, we decided to have a family meeting to address the issue head-on. We invited Sharon and Jake over to our childhood home, hoping the familiar setting would keep things calm. Sharon was immediately defensive when she realized we were presenting a united front. She tried to play the victim, bringing up old grievances and accusing us of ganging up on her. But we stood firm. I laid out clear boundaries. I will not be loaning Sharon any more money, period. If she asks again, I will be limiting contact. My parents backed me up and said they would no longer be giving her money either. We told Sharon and Jake that we love them and want to support them emotionally, but they need to take responsibility for their own finances. We offered to help them make a budget and connect them with financial planning resources. Jake stormed out halfway through the conversation, muttering about how we thought we were better than them. Sharon oscillated between tears and anger, accusing us of abandoning her and the kids. It was a grueling, emotional day. By the end, Sharon agreed to meet with a financial advisor, but it was clear she wasn't happy about it. She left without hugging any of us goodbye, slamming the door behind her. It's been a difficult few weeks since then. Sharon has been giving us all the silent treatment. She's posting vague drama on social media about how blood isn't always thicker than water, and how some people will never understand struggle. She's blocked me on most platforms, but Flying Monkeys keep sending me screenshots. Despite the tension, I don't regret our decision. It feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. My parents seem lighter too, even though they're sad about the strained relationship with Sharon. I've been spending more one-on-one time with Lily and Max. Sharon hasn't explicitly banned us from seeing them, and I want them to know that even though things are tense with their parents, I'm still there for them. We've been going to the park and library together. I'm trying to model financial responsibility by teaching them about saving money. My parents and I have gotten closer through this ordeal. We're learning how to support each other without enabling destructive behavior. It's not easy, but I'm hopeful that with time and consistency, Sharon will realize we acted out of love. For now, I'm focusing on my own life and goals. I'm looking into buying my first home and have started volunteering with a financial literacy program for low-income families. I'm grateful for the stability I've built and want to use it to genuinely help others, not be guilted into enabling irresponsible choices. The future is uncertain, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I hope that one day Sharon will understand that true love sometimes means saying no. Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update, and unfortunately, things with Sharon have only gotten worse. Shortly after our family meeting, Sharon and Jake were evicted from their apartment. Apparently, they had stopped paying rent entirely, using the money for who knows what instead. They showed up on our parents' doorstep at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, kids in tow, saying they had nowhere else to go. My parents, being the soft-hearted people they are, reluctantly let them move into the guest room, temporarily. That was 6 weeks ago, and Sharon shows no signs of leaving or even looking for a new place. The situation at my parents' house is tense, to say the least. Sharon spends all day watching TV or scrolling on her phone while my mom takes care of Lily and Max. She's not looking for work or an apartment. Jake comes and goes at odd hours and won't say where he's working or if he's bringing in any income. I've been trying to support my parents as much as I can. I come over several times a week to cook dinner and give them a break from childcare. I've been taking Lily and Max on outings to get them out of the toxic environment. But it's clear this situation isn't sustainable. Sharon picks fights with our parents constantly, accusing them of favoring me and not loving her kids enough. She complains about the food they buy, the TV shows they watch, even the brand of laundry detergent they use. Nothing is ever good enough. The final straw came last week. I stopped by after work to find my mom in tears at the kitchen table. Sharon had screamed at her all morning for buying the wrong kind of juice for the kids. She called our mom a selfish beach in front of Lily and Max. I saw red. All the pent-up frustration and anger from years of Sharon's behavior came boiling to the surface. I stormed into the living room where Sharon was sprawled on the couch and told her she needed to leave immediately. Sharon sneered that I couldn't kick her out of her home. I reminded her that she was a guest in our parents' house and her behavior was unacceptable. I told her she had 24 hours to find somewhere else to go. Sharon flew into a rage. She started throwing things, books, remotes, even a framed family photo. She was screaming that we were all against her, that we'd never loved her, that we were trying to steal her children. Lily and Max were sobbing, clinging to each other in the corner. In that moment, looking at my niece and nephew's terrified faces, I knew I had to take drastic action. I called the police to escort Sharon and Jake off the property. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. As the officers led them away, Sharon was still screaming. She said awful things about how she wished she wasn't part of this family, how we'd ruined her life, how she hoped we'd rot in hell. The look of hatred in her eyes as she glared at me from the back of the police car will haunt me for a long time. In the aftermath, my parents are a mess. They're relieved to have peace in their home again, but they're heartbroken over the situation with Sharon. We're working on changing the locks and installing security cameras just in case. I'm helping them file for emergency custody of Lily and Max. It feels extreme, but after witnessing Sharon's outburst, I genuinely don't think the kids are safe with her right now. We don't know where Sharon and Jake are staying, but I hope they use this as a wake-up call to get their lives together. For now, we're focusing on creating a stable environment for Lily and Max. They're confused and upset, asking when they'll see their parents again. It breaks my heart, but I'm trying to be a steady, loving presence for them. I never wanted things to come to this point. Part of me wonders if I made the right choice in calling the police. But when I remember the fear in Lily and Max's eyes, I know it was necessary. I'm not sure what the future holds. Will Sharon get the help she clearly needs? Will she and Jake step up and become the parents Lily and Max deserve? Or will this be the final break in our family relationships? For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm helping my parents navigate the legal process for temporary custody. I'm trying to create moments of normalcy and joy for Lily and Max amidst all the chaos. And I'm working on processing my own complicated feelings about everything that's happened. This isn't the outcome I wanted when I first stood up to Sharon's manipulation. But I have to believe that setting firm boundaries was the right thing to do, even if the aftermath has been painful. I just hope that someday we can find a way to heal as a family. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update. A lot has changed, both good and bad. The good news is that my parents were granted temporary custody of Lily and Max. It was a grueling legal process, but ultimately the judge agreed that they were the most stable option for the children right now. The kids have really flourished in a consistent environment. They're doing better in school, having fewer tantrums, and seem much happier overall. We've all been working hard to give them a loving, supportive home. Sharon and Jake initially fought the custody order tooth and nail. They showed up to the first hearing reeking of alcohol and got into a shouting match with the judge. It did not help their case. Then about 2 months ago, Jake suddenly disappeared. We later found out he'd been arrested for drug trafficking. Apparently, he'd gotten involved with some dangerous people to try to make quick money. Sharon claims she knew nothing about his illegal activities, but given their financial situation, that seems unlikely. With Jake in jail awaiting trial, Sharon had a complete mental breakdown. She checked herself into a rehab facility to deal with substance abuse issues we didn't even know she had. She's been there for the past 3 months. I have really mixed feelings about Sharon's situation. On one hand, I'm glad she's finally getting help. Maybe this will be the rock bottom she needed to turn her life around. On the other hand, I'm angry that it took losing custody of her kids for her to address her problems. Part of me wonders if this is just another manipulation tactic to try to get the kids back. My parents and I have had many long talks about how to move forward. We agree that Sharon needs to demonstrate long-term sobriety and stability before she can be part of our lives again. We're also in family therapy to work through our complicated history of enabling her behavior. I've been spending a lot of time with Lily and Max. We're building strong bonds and creating new, positive family memories. It breaks my heart that they've been through so much at such young ages, but I'm committed to being a stable presence in their lives. Financially, things have been challenging. My parents have dipped into their retirement savings to cover legal fees and therapy costs for the kids. I've been helping out as much as I can, but it's put my own goals on hold. I had to postpone my plans to buy a house, but that seems insignificant compared to making sure Lily and Max are taken care of. Sharon is allowed supervised visits with the kids once a week. Sometimes she shows up, sometimes she doesn't. When she does come, it's clear she's trying, but she struggles to connect with them. Lily and Max are always a bit withdrawn after these visits. I'm not sure what the future holds for our family. Will Sharon be able to maintain her sobriety and rebuild her life? Will Jake face serious prison time? Will Lily and Max ever be able to live with their parents again? There are so many unanswered questions. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time and focusing on being there for the people who truly matter in my life. I'm learning that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up and puts in the work to build healthy relationships.